as a man, you're not jeopardizing yourself, your integrity, or who you are to attain her.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm at an age where I just don't give a fuck.
The Andrew Show.
Fuck. He's going to be pissed off. Anyways, what's your take on today's show since we're here?
It was interesting. There were some good points. I think it was interesting how we kind of hopped around, but there were also several different topics, so I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's too bad we didn't have Stacy on here, man. I'm still wondering, why did she just flew the coop like that?
I don't know.
But out of everything we said, and you know, the boys can be a little bit crazy. Mm-hmm. So I kind of calm it down a little bit. We got a female in the house, you know what I'm saying? Just let her feel comfortable. Let's say what she got to say. And then she did. But for some reason, you touched her in some sort of way with your words, but she just left. She got choked. And she didn't have nothing to say.
Yeah. I just, I don't know. I like I said, like if you go back and you actually hear the things that I was saying, you can't really argue with them. There's nothing to argue with. So that's like saying the sky's not blue when it's blue. So, I don't know.
So I got a female that I'm going to have a show with. You know, you guys are more than welcome to come on next time. I'm going to get more into depth with relationships and more of an ideal of what women are expecting from men. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to get a woman's perspective of things. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because I think there's a lot of us as men that don't have a better understanding on female nature. So, why are you laughing?
Because it's like trying to find the fountain of youth. Women don't even understand our own nature. You're trying to understand something that's not understandable.
But there's got to be a pattern here. It's kind of like the stock market when you're trying to look for a way of closing.
There are basic rules. You can tell if a man is interested in you by things that he does, comments that he makes, paying attention to your new dress or new haircut, whatever, right? Same thing with the guys. You can tell when a woman is interested in you. She knows how you like to drink your coffee, 2 creams, 1 sugar, etc. She knows when you've had a hard day at work, either by intuitively knowing just the tone of your voice or like you tell her and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, either she's going to want to watch the game with you or bug you or know to leave you alone. You can tell if a woman is interested in you by the effort that she puts into you. So that is pretty much it. If it's not there, I mean, you can probably do like some other stuff and see if it can work it out there, but it's pretty basic. And if you're looking at what women want, it's just stability, protection, resources are a part of it. But really, like, at its core, women still want love. They still want the flowers. They still want the chivalry. They still want all that shit. It's just
the Disney story.
Not the Disney story, because at the same time, there is something to be said about a man with a backbone that's going to put her in her place. There's nothing wrong with being chivalrous and a gentleman, but 100%, alpha, like, all right, bitch, like, if you're not with it, then you're not with it. You're not, as a man, you're not jeopardizing yourself, your integrity, or who you are to attain her.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm at an age where I just don't give a fuck. I don't like putting effort into shit.
I get it. You just asked the question. I'm just answering based off what I know. I don't give a shit at this point either. That's why I say it this way, because all the things that I've learned, all the different courses, all the different books that I've read, all the shits, manosphere and not, it comes down to that basic, simple formula.
But a lot of guys are not understanding that formula. This is why we got to have the women on the panel to help us understand you. Only you could understand you. Even
Keep her confused.
But then we're playing games.
Don't be mean, but play the games. Just don't be mean.
But we don't have to be mean and play games. But
I know. The issue with games that women have is the mean part. But
okay.
if you're not mean and you're just fucking around like, oh, sorry, left my phone in the car while I was at the gym, but that's something that you do, but you knew that you could have told her, but you're just fucking with her.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, you're keeping her confused, you're keeping her interested, you're keeping her like thinking, oh, he could leave me.
So you want a nice guy that plays games?
You want a good person, not a nice guy.
A good person that plays games.
I'm just saying, as a female giving advice to men,
yeah.
I would say, like, play the games. It's fun. Make a joke out of it. Kind of like we all troll here. We say stupid shit and we laugh about it under our breath. Like, it's because the funny part is that women, and this is based off of how society is currently, right? So we have women that are in a delusion still expecting the happily ever after, but not really even wanting that, because when they do have a nice guy or a good guy, they're like bored or they think they can do better, right? But if that is where we are and the women are currently still not making any changes, then by evaluating that, you can also attest that she wants the good guy, but you can't let her get bored. So if you can't let her get bored, it's kind of like logic to play games and keep her interested and funny.
Some of the guys are saying, nah. Some saying balance. But I'll say this.
But that's the thing, too. It's like, what's the point? I get it.
I can tell
that's
you.
That's how it works.
Right. I can tell you this from my current, in my current situation and how I learned to balance women's energy. Yes, you are right. I have a habit of getting emotionally attached. You know what I'm saying? So I recognized that was my downfall when it came down to women. I didn't know how to control that at one time. So I was scaring women off. But then I learned to channel that want and that neediness. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a stigma of I had to prove myself. I had to do all these type of things, give the flowers and candies and all this extra shit, right? When in fact, it's bullshit. Because you're going to scare women off when you do that extra mile. I've always got to a point where when I did do these things, and I did get into a relationship with women, 9 times out of 10, she'll be the one to break it off with me. She would say this, well, it's not you, it's me. You're just a little too nice for me.
Yeah, there was no thrill. There was no,
nothing that's going to ignite the relationship or move her emotions, I guess. Because women love emotion. They love drama and shit. They love that suspense, right? So I realized that. But on how society's playing in the roles, it's good to have fun and flirt and play with a woman's mind a little bit and mess around with her a little bit. I know that works. But there's a point where if you get down to the relationship aspects of things, you got to take some things seriously. But, well...
Oh, yeah, but I'm not saying, like, don't take your relationship seriously.
Right, but women will continue to play this game even when the man ends up getting what he wants, right? Let's just say he plays the game and he plays it well. He's flirting and giving back signals, all this other stuff, and he gets you where he wants you. He courtships you, right? Then all of a sudden the relationship is formed. The game doesn't stop because women are continuously playing the game. So men have to keep up with the game.
What game are playing? What game are women playing at that point?
You know the mind games women play, like little things just to keep the relationship spicy.
No. That's where you got it like fucked up in the head. You guys think that women do this on purpose. Women are emotional, erratical, have been taught to believe we deserve everything without ramifications, without accountability. And so we're not, and I don't know why I'm saying we're, I don't do that. Women don't do that on purpose for the most part. I'm 100%. There's some narcissistic, crazy ass bitches out there, right?
Some?
Through and through.
Some?
Like a lot. There's a lot. Not some. There's a lot.
Oh, shit.
But there's also a big portion of those women that aren't doing those things on purpose. They are, and it goes again like women. I talk to women and I say that we need to be accountable for the men that we choose, just the same way that I say that men need to be accountable for the women that they choose. Like I said before, like you use yourself as an example, right? I would say don't do anything outside of the bare minimum, like going out to dinner, until you see reciprocation or until you see her interested. Doing that stuff just because you're interested, you're putting time, you're wasting your most valuable assets are time, money, and time, money, and power, right? So in that exchange, you're giving her your time, not just the dinner itself, but also the time and effort that you put into getting the flowers or whatever, trinkets, stuff. You're giving her your money, because not just the date that you're also spending on presents and whatnot. And then your power, because you're so focused on her that you could be doing other things for yourself too, because she still hasn't reciprocated that or shown that interest, right? So it comes down to like, I like to say that like everybody gets cheated on, everyone gets screwed over. It's kind of like a passage to adulthood at this point, right? But there is something to be said when you learn from these experiences. You learn, right. Oh, that's a red flag. Oh, for example, one that I had a hard time coming to terms with is that my Instagram doesn't look like a pick-me girl. It looks like a 304 to a lot of people, right? And that's just, I could sit here and be like, oh, no, that's not fair, and fight against it. Like, I was really like, really? The one thing? Like, but it's a fact. If I hypothetically want a high-value man, and we're not talking net worth, we're just talking like the type of man, right? Do I think that he's rolling around this earth looking for a girl that has an Instagram that looks like that? That's the cold hard truth of it, right? And that's, we could use the anomalies, we could use the examples that come up and all of that stuff, and say, and also talk about the fact that it's a modern society. But the reality is, for the most part, it's an accurate statement.
Well, it just depends on what's a high value man to you, because I mean,
I'm not talking about net worth. I'm talking about stamina, dependability, structure, financial literacy, leadership abilities, protection. These are all qualities that if I'm looking at a high value person, they're also going to be looking for a high value person. Right? So it's men. I hear there's a lot of men that tell me like, oh, men want to exercise their options, right? One of the high value qualities that I look for in a man is the ability to control himself.
Well, most high value men have options regardless.
Of course, I'm not negating that part. I'm not negating that. I'm saying there are 100%, but there's also a subcategory where they know how to control themselves because they don't want to get someone accidentally pregnant. They don't want to put themselves in a susceptible situation. They don't want to accidentally get a dumb bitch pregnant because DNA is a valuable asset too. So that's all I'm trying to say is that there's ebbs and flow in every situation that you look for, but generally speaking, you can see red flags, and we've pointed out from your example and from my own examples. These are things that if we're saying, I want that kind of a person, we ourselves are not displaying those, right? Or I think that you were referring to yourself in the past. Mine is like, my Instagram's still there. It's just a lot of the issues that arise, you can pretty much negate right off the bat by selecting better, which also explains why the manosphere talks about westernized women, because the selection is pretty slim currently. At least like compared to what it's, I mean, I was looking at pictures from women in the 90s and it was like weird if a girl showed up too much belly button skin. Now it's like average, it's normal. It's stuff like that it's like I can see what the men are saying.
Well, listen, I don't think the sexual part is the problem. I think most men, we love sex and we want a woman to be a 304 in the bed. For the
right, but it's presentation of what you show to the rest of the world. That's the thing. Right. And that's
the separation of it.
One, the issue is I'm trying to I've learned a lot in the sphere and I'm trying to re-communicate it to women in women talk. So where men like to talk about, are you subservient? Are you submissive? I instead translate that to, would you trust him to lead you in for you to be able to blindly follow him? Could you trust him? If he's paying the bills, he's doing all these things. And then she usually says yes. The same equation is to submitting. It's, I blindly have faith and trust in you. It's even better than submitting, if you will.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to intervene and just say this and add it on to submissiveness. I don't believe in the word of a man should have submissiveness right away. That is something that a man has to present himself to a woman so that way she can feel secure with being submissive with him. I would more say and go to this approach, are you emotionally available?
Right.
Because if you're emotionally available, I don't have to worry about your past. I don't have to worry about your ex-boyfriend. I don't have to worry about your baby daddy if you have children or whatever. I don't have any kids, right? Some women think something's wrong with me because of my age. I don't have that. But it's not that I can't have kids. I can, but I choose not to because I'm still trying to find a person who is emotionally available.
So I also say, well, the way I try and explain it is if you're dating with a purpose, and you should be looking for someone that you would co-parent with, as opposed to, can I picture myself marrying this person? Right? Because it's easy for me to be like, I could see myself marrying this person, but it's like, oh, but he's got these qualities that wouldn't align with what I want for kids, right? And that could be religion, that could be discipline, that could be how reaction to crappy situations. It is a whole whatever, right? It's just when you focus on picking better as the number one, it makes it a lot easier down the road because you're looking for these potential hazardous situations.
But what is better?
What do you mean, what is better?
What is better? Where do you find better? Because most men are trying to find these answers in this country. Where do you find a better woman? Where do you find a good woman? Because thing is, we can see this picture of a woman, right? We may not even know what she's all about. Like, for instance, I use you, for example, you were talking about your Instagram photos. If people don't know who you are, they're going to get their perception of what they see.
Right.
And men go by sight because we're attracted to what we see. So it's not that we're not attracted to you, but it's just in our thought process is like, okay, we deal with these type of women that look like this before. Oh, okay, we know what she's
right. Doing. Of course. And that's, like I said before, I've said it a lot of times. There was one guy that said, there are good men out here, but we are looking for good women, and the good women are standing so right next to the hose, we cannot tell the difference. And so what's interesting is that I actually have become way more modest and way more conservative where things are not comfortable with the way they used to be, right? that's a natural thing that happened. It wasn't like, oh, let me change the way I, like, that is a natural thing. Like, I remember one event for a client we did, I was wearing one thing and I couldn't leave the house. I had to come back into the house and change because I didn't feel comfortable because it was showing too much. That shit had never happened to me before. That shit would never happen to me before.
So you never had any type of emotional drama that made you change and say, you know what, I'm going to be conservative because I'm being treated this way? Any of that sort whatsoever? No bad relationships, no breakup, no he hurt my feelings, I'm turning this way? Because I mean, listen, I've dated strippers before. I told even one of my ex-girlfriends, she was a stripper, and I can tell you this from this experience, I would never do it again. Just based on
mental baggage.
Yes. She came from a series of backgrounds of a drug abuse. Her brother was part of a gang. Like, her father's fucked up. Her father beats her mom and shit. So it's crazy. There's times where if her father would sometimes beat her up, she'll come over, she'll start crying and shit, calling me late hours in the night. I'll go over there and pick her up, and then, you know, I'll just kind of make her feel good, you know, just talk to her, have long conversations with her. I would stay up all night having conversations with her just to make sure she's okay. And I'll let her stay over sometimes, you know, because she's going through some shit. But thing is, she wasn't ready to change her lifestyle, right? Because there was problems going on at the strip club where she was working at too. And I told her to leave that place. She didn't want to listen, right? One thing led to another. Some shit happened between her and some other girl. They got into a fight. It was pretty nasty. And she lost her job, and she had like stitches over here. It's pretty fucked up. She got hit with a bottle and shit. So, she was just fucked up, man. You know what I mean? It was just situations where I felt like sometimes my life was in danger because of the people that she was dealing with. So I said, I can't fuck with this, man. I gotta let this girl go. She's crazy. So, that was a learning experience. It taught me this, that even through me going through so many experiences with dealing with the fantasy girl, right? Because I think every man wants that fantasy type of girl or want to experience that. I realized that it wasn't much of a fantasy as I thought it would be. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a nightmare. I don't want that shit. It's not me. You know, I was brought up with a traditional home. I was brought up with a traditional family. I was raised with my mom and my dad. So what I saw through a reflection of both my parents working it out, being together, they went through some hard times, went through some arguments, but at the end of the day, they stood with each other. They were able to work things out, you know, and that's something that I can't speak for everybody else, but I think ultimately good men, that's what we want. We want a foundation. We want to love you, but it's so freaking hard.
Right. I mean, again, there's issues on both sides.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's a reality. But this is, again, what I also say on both sides. This is
6 hours, Drew. God damn you. I know I got to go to work. Yeah, we about to close it up. But anyways, I want to get your thoughts, man. And how do you feel both sexes could align with each other and get a better understanding and kind of get back into like figuring out this whole bullshit that's going on?
First of all, we gotta like separate the extremists on both sides. That's probably going to be number one, because ain't nothing going to happen without separating the extremists.
Yeah, we talked about this too.
It's on both sides, because I got women coming into my ladies' night, and guys were like gung-ho thinking it's a roast, and I had to be like, I'm going to block you if that's what you choose to do. So I have to make them feel comfortable in order to come back every week, which I'm not paying them. They have no reason to, other than they're interested in the topics and they see a value in it, and they want more women to talk about it, actually. And at the same time, there's like crazy ass feminists that are crazy. They're just, they're not okay. So that's number one. And then number two, women need to be more realistic. That's probably the number one thing, is they need to be more realistic. So everyone's wondering, why did she leave? Why did Stacey leave? I presented her with two different situations where she could not fight back because there was nothing to fight back. It was sound, it was reasonable, it was factual, and there's nothing that you can say against it. And they're heavy fucking hits. Men, their entire lives are literally raised, you do not deserve anything. This is not for you, blah, 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 blah. Sorry. And then women are told that they deserve everything, and that they're tens, and that's where the delusional aspect comes from. So that's the first heavy hit of like the entire lives of these men. They've had to work hard for everything. Of course, they're going to be somewhat aggressive or chauvinistic or misogynistic or any of the labels that you want to give them, which quite frankly, I've rarely met them. Rarely. There are here, but the vast majority are not that way. And men keep on saying, and they keep simplifying it even more and more, we just want peace. We just want peace. We already found a different solution. We want peace with that. Leave us alone.
Most men, for real, I think most men just want a pretty chick. That's just not with the I hate you men shit, and just be emotionally available. You know what I mean? Just be open. I think that's what most men want, and then you guys can get the best out of most men. But I also believe that women I think they put a lot of pressure on themselves too, by having these high, ridiculous standards. Like, does a guy have to be 6 feet tall? Like,
well, and that's what I meant by unrealistic expectations, because again, if you take a look at how they were raised, I deserve everything. I believe I can be and do anything. Nothing bad's ever going to happen to me. We see it all the time. Even, I'm sober, right? So even in like the recovery process, most women don't stay sober because there's always going to be a drug dealer or an ex-boyfriend or somebody that's taking care of her rent or her finances or her whatever it is. And it's the same thing in life. Women always have that extra cushion to fall back on. And as a woman, when you see that, it's like, oh, if we're harping on inequality over here, like, that's not fair. It's not. And the second portion of that too was that, like, men, and that's on the same topic, men had to earn the right to vote. Men had to earn a lot of the rights that they have today, whereas women fought for the equality of those men that fought for those rights, which again does not mathematically equate to what we currently have. So these are two massive points that you can't really argue with. It is a level of entitlement, and if more women could actually just process that, they didn't even agree. I'm not even saying agree, just process it, right? Because you got to give them a lot of wiggle room.
That's true.
Just process it, then we might be able to, like, get some understanding, some sort of level of understanding. That's where hopefully some women will, like, start looking for height appropriate, just as they do age appropriate or financially appropriate. We've strayed away a lot of, I mean, there is also a lot of blame to go on with men of, like, where did this, as a high value, I understand that men are, and I is going to kick my own ass for saying it, but, like, this is just logic, right? This isn't something that I agree to as a woman. Being 100% real with this.
Go ahead, keep it real. That's what we want. Keep it real.
I'm like, God, I don't even want to say it because it's like,
no, fuck it. Talk that
no,
shit.
because I don't want it. Okay? And then you can understand why. Selfish as hell. But if you're a man making like 70,000 and more, then don't date down. Don't date down.
But here's the thing: there's not a lot of women out here that's making over 70,000. And if you're making in that tax bracket of 70 or 100K, there's not a lot of women that's making that type of money.
Okay, so let me.
And if they are, but if they are making that type of money, and you're making that type of money, guess what? Women are going to ask for more. Women are very hypergamous.
Let's reel it back. Let's reel it back with that hypergamous thing. Okay. because this is what I'm talking about. I'm in Los Angeles. 70 is the average medium for the state of California to make on a yearly income.
Oh yeah.
I've looked at the statistics throughout the country because of that same. There's a narrative saying that like the average median income across the United States is 44,000. That is 100% accurate. That is 100% true. But when you look at each state individually, it does fluctuate. So in states like Colorado, California, New York, even Miami, it ranges all the way up to like 77,000, right? If you look at that, there's going to be more women that are making that in those areas. If you're in the state of Alabama and the average is 20 or 30,000 and you're making 50, then look for someone 20, 30,000. It's just don't be getting these women that are only providing like under the bed sheet satisfactory, or they don't know how to cook, or they don't know how to make your life better or easier, or you're working hard and they're not adding anything to your life. That's when it's like, let's reel it back.
Well, I agree with you on that, because I can say this honestly. I like to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I love cooking. So I can, what's the word? Damn, there's a word for it. I can, Jesus, I can't think of that word. There's a word that's been used a lot where you're able to compromise, but there's a certain word for it. I just can't think of it off the bat. But anyhow, if a woman that I'm with, that I'm dating and I'm getting to know, and let's just say we're living with each other, whatnot. If she doesn't know how to cook, I know how to cook. So that's fine. I'll cook for us. Then I was like, okay, well, can you clean? Because shit, I don't like cleaning for shit. I'm just being honest with you. I love cooking. I can make a mess, but I can't clean for shit. So she'll go ahead and clean.
Here's the thing. Like I said, men are a lot more reasonable. You guys have been dating down. It hasn't been an issue for you guys. That's why I'm saying change the standard if you can, because again, we're looking at reasonable women, and maybe she doesn't make that much. It's an idea. That's all. It was just an idea. But it's what I'm harping on is that because of these unrealistic expectations, and the reason we already looked at why women have these unrealistic expectations, if women can stop and take a look at that, it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe instead of trying to find someone that makes more than me, I can find someone that makes as much as me. Or maybe if I'm dating down as a woman, he's taking care of other responsibilities that would give me a headache, right? It's because I said it a moment ago that men, you need to pay attention to what women are bringing into your life, whether that's sexual, emotional, peace, food, whatever, right? Women are constantly doing the same exact thing. It's what value is he bringing to my life, whether that's a woman that's saying the monetary value, or a woman that's looking for emotional value, or a woman that's looking for a life partner value. I don't know. It's just, women are constantly looking for these things. So that's why I'm saying men need to pay attention to them too.
Yeah, but sometimes as a man, you can pay attention to those things and it may not even be there, because we know that women change their aspect of what they want and what they need is totally different. But we don't know what they want, what they need, and what they want is not necessarily what they need. And what they need is not necessarily what they want. So it's like, how do you defer the two if they're like, intertwining with each other? But then this is where we have to figure out you. Because
you can't figure out you. You cannot figure out women. That's what I'm trying. This is it's an illusion at the idea of figuring out a woman, because just like I had the women's panel, we did face rating, right? I put Tinder up. I asked the girls to vote. They voted everything from 3, 4, 6, and 10. So you're going to figure out what women think, and you'll have a panel of 5 women, but you're excluding 15 other versions of women that are over there that those answers wouldn't apply to. That's why and even then, the kicker out of all this stuff is that as a woman, I could think I want this thing. I could think I want this thing. I could think I want this thing only to realize I don't want that thing after all.
Gotcha.
So do you see what I'm saying? That it's like, just at this point, just enjoy the ride. If you find someone, you find someone. If you don't, because the picking is slim, that's what Passport Bro is all about. They're finding women. It's just...
Well, I don't know too much about women, but I know the mistakes that I've done to not get women. So I came out with a series of things that I've written down.
That we could talk about. That's different. That's different. That we can definitely, we can pinpoint those. We can definitely pinpoint those. Yes.
Well, I wrote down
that is way easier to pinpoint than what a woman wants.
Well,
damn, that's fucked up.
I know it's kind of fucked up, but I've learned from my mistakes. I'm not a pickup artist. I don't believe in game, but I do believe in a game that's created. And in order for you to avoid this so-called game, is you got to understand what's in front of you. So I say this to myself. If I'm talking to a woman and I get her number, okay, she say, call me at 10 o'clock. I'm going to be free. Okay. Don't call her at 10 o'clock. Because the moment you call at 10 o'clock, you're answering to her command. So this is what you do. Call her the next day. Call her a time that she wouldn't even expect it. Or just send her a text. Hey, what's going on? That way, at least you're established to yourself. Not only to her, but hey, you're a busy guy. You got shit going on. Even if you ain't got shit going on, she wants to know what the fuck is going on and why you didn't call her. So this triggers a sense of emergency in her mind, depending on the situation and depending on the conversation, depending on how long she's known you for. But I've realized that by not giving so much into things, you actually get things back in return. It's kind of worked out in my favor for the most part. So everything that I've done, you know, the whole fucking, buy me candy and flour. Man, fuck that bullshit. That shit don't work. Fuck that shit.
It does, but it depends on the woman that you're dealing with.
Nah, fuck that shit. That shit don't work. Let me tell you something.
I said the woman that you're dealing with, like, it could to, like, a girl that has never had attention and, like, oh my God, someone's paying attention to me. But to the woman that's, like, on Instagram and just, you know what I mean? Like, she's already gotten, no, don't do that unless, like, she deserves it.
Honestly, I think that goes to all women because here's the thing. My mom taught me straight up, you know, hey, you know, you like a girl, tell her you like her, buy her some flowers and candy and shit. Well, you know what I mean? Just all that stuff that would, like, you know, courtship a woman and all that, right? But I learned the hard way that shit doesn't work, okay? It's fucking dumb. It's the stupidest shit in the world, okay? Because women, if they see you do that, in their mind subconsciously, they say, oh, well, you're just after something. You don't mean it, right? So if you actually show your real true intentions of what you mean, and she asks you, hey, what are you looking for? Hey, I want to fuck. You get a better response from that because she actually believes you versus I'm trying to get to know you.
Yeah, and that's what I mean again when I say a woman that is about you is we're going to be just as delusional as we are when we're angry, is just as delusional as we are when we're liking someone. It's like all those rules and regulations and all these things, they go out the window.
Man.
Like, what? Okay.
Yeah. But we were taught that, you know, I was taught that women don't want to hear that shit, but that's totally false.
Yeah, because well, and it's...
Yeah, I mean, there's some women that just want to bang too, just like dudes do. And right, I was still, God, just be honest, fuck it.
Yeah, but it's the angry ones that, like, don't even waste your time. And I don't like saying that, but it's, as a woman that used to be really angry, like, it's a thing that if a woman has not already, like, figured her own stuff out to not be that aggressor or anger or victim mentality or all these things, like calling men all these names online. I mean, I get called a racist.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, what? Because, like, there's a subcategory of Black women against passport bros that I was on one of my TikTok videos, and they were saying, like, oh, this white be this white be that, and then I was like, what are you taught? Like, you're being racist, and they called me a racist because I called out their racism. It was weird. It's just, my point is that when it just like a man, right? if a man is, I tell women, I'm like, if the man is like aggressive and angry and like fucking like pops off for no reason, like the weather ruined his day, like back up. If it gets worse, like that's who he is. Walk away. You avoid a whole ass mess. It's the same thing with women.
What, if a man's just getting upset for no reason?
Yeah, for no reason. We're talking about
Like,
reason.
no reason.
Yeah, like, you know the guys. There are some guys that are going to be like, the light didn't work that day, or my parking spot wasn't empty for me, or it rained and I was supposed to golf. But like angry. We're not just talking about being upset. Angry, right? Stay away from them. And it's the same thing for women. It's if you have a woman that like key factor, right? And this is on the assumption that a man is looking for a good woman that he just wants peace with, right? Not crazy shit, just peace. A woman that takes like more than like reasonably, because I know how us women are, reasonably more than 30 minutes to get ready and get out of the house, she has other priorities most likely.
Yeah.
And there's, you can also like even take a look at what her loyalty to her friends look like and how you can use that to evaluate how she would be loyal to you. It's if you have a woman that like treats service staff like garbage.
But you did say, so are we supposed to judge a woman based off the friends or who she's hanging out with?
Yeah. But there's also, go ahead.
Let's, for instance, let's just use it as an example. You're on Instagram, you know, you're partying with your girls and all that. So can you say that majority of the girls are like you?
No.
Exactly. But you just said also before that sometimes the good women are mixed up with the bad women, and we can't even figure out which ones are the good or the bad ones.
Right. So when I say that doesn't talk about the delusional part.
Okay.
It's not saying that we're not going to be delusional. It's just saying that we are good women, that we would want to submit, that we would want to trust, that we would want all those same things. It's just right about that time in their life, they think that that's normal. And I can say that as a woman that like my whole life is like significantly changed, not just like from myself, but also my friends, the people I choose to hang out with. I rarely leave my house at this point, and it's not for lack of trying. It's just like I go to 7-Eleven and I see this shit. I go to a client party, I see this shit. It's a societal issue of how men are treated, and it does get me angry because then I have to deal with shit like, not here, but most places are like, oh, 304 this and all these prejudgments on me because of women like that I see on a regular basis, right? And it used to be when I first started out, I could still have these friendships with these women. And the shit they didn't bother me because I'm like, it's not hurting me. It's not affecting me. I'm not dabbling in that shit.
Yeah.
And what shifted was the more that I was in here and the more that I was understanding and the more that like I saw how those kind of women treated the men that I see on here, I couldn't even be friends with them anymore. And it's something to say with like the shallowness too, is it's like I had some real heavy shit happen where like people online were checking up on me more than people were in real life. And that was some fucked up shit.
So that was like more of a culture shock.
Yeah, it was.
See, I would never think that pretty girls go through shit like that.
Oh no, we got it the fucking worst.
Yeah, I mean, we see you on Instagram and you guys are looking hot and shit. Like, we're thinking like, fuck, man, she's got the best world. She's got the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? Like, do what I think.
There's a thing, a guy I know was told this, and he was talking about looking at a girl at the bar. She was the most beautiful girl at the bar. And he didn't want to go up to her because he was like, oh, she's probably always getting asked out and all these things. And one of the girls
I would assume that too. Yeah.
Except one of the girls told him the prettiest girl at the bar is often the most loneliest girl. And he went up and he talked to her and he got her number. And they dated afterwards. It's just,
I gotta be crazy.
There is, you could say that, but like there is a very severe level of loneliness that these pretty women, I don't know about guys because I can't speak on them, but I do know that women do go through that. It's a real thing.
Oh no, we go through loneliness too. Hell yeah.
Right, but it's on a different level. So just as we have pretty privilege, where it's like, shit, I went to Starbucks and I got a free bottle of water one time, right? That's just, we all know what the fuck that is, 100% through and through. It's not because I was nice. It's not because it needs the sun and the moon, the stars aligned. Like, it is pretty privileged.
So how does a guy separate himself if he genuinely wants to get to know you?
Let's reel back first, though.
Okay.
Just the same way that those are some perks or privileges, if you will, there is also another thing where it's like a pretty girl goes into a room and she's the prettiest girl in the room. None of the girls want to talk to her. So it's stuff like that like unless you go through that on a regular basis, you would never pay attention to it, nor would it even be an issue. But if you're already lonely and that happens, it's like, crap. Right? But at the same time, then you evaluate the type of girl. If she's a real girl, it's going to suck. If she's not a good person, then she's going to fall into that and be just as shallow. Right? It's that's why I say there's like so many onion layers and levels and types of women and all these things and the alignments. It's hard to pinpoint anything. But you can pinpoint the wrong things. That's way easier.
Better bitches. It's been a pleasure. Listen, we got to do a one-on-one to where we got to get a better understanding of this because I think your input, you can help a lot of guys out here.
For free, too.
Look at that, for free. And she's not selling you anything. She's not a dating coach. She's not selling you game. Well, I guess if you want to call it that. I don't know. The fuck?
I think it's just logic and human.
That's all it is. But me and QB, we're just anti-dating coaches, man. We just can't stand them.
I mean, we all are. It's the very few that I've seen that like actually do the hand holding that I think is worth it. I've only seen it once or twice. Everybody else selling a book and all these things, yeah, they help to a certain extent, I'm sure. But the amount of money that's being circulated, this is like almost, I can't remember if it went up to $1 billion, but it definitely is a multi-million-dollar industry. The dating coach services, pickup artists, all that stuff. Yeah. Multi-million. Bro, just go get a book. Just go get a book. Or hire someone to hold your hand, but don't be giving $1,000 to someone just to get a course.
Listen, I've been a shy kid. I grew up being a shy kid, and I didn't know how to talk to people. It was crazy. I guess I was more like an introvert at one time. I kind of just, I don't know what to call it. I was more like, if I was socially involved with people, I wasn't too closed in, but I was more closed in if it was like a one-on-one thing, especially if I didn't get to know the person. I didn't know that person. But then I realized that, you know what? I don't know. Something just kicked into me and said, you know what? I'm just going to be myself. Fuck it. You know what I mean? I'm going to just talk my shit. Whether she likes me or not, I'm just going to just go for it, you know? But sometimes it worked for me. Sometimes it didn't. But at the same time, I'm glad that it didn't work out for me because at least I could be myself. I don't need to pretend to be something I'm not. But I think that, and that being said, that's a form of confidence. But there's other factors that a lot of men have to work upon. You know, it's physical, it's finance, it's just so much that a man has to endure. So it's a lot of pressure in order for him to be that high value of a status and for him to get the woman that he wants. Because even in today's society, things are such more at a high peak when it comes down to being that man that most women want. But I can understand it if that's what women want, cool. But at the same time, if they want to find a man that they want, right, they have to make better choices and better decisions in the men that they choose. And they have to be more logical in their choices. Like, come on, a guy can't help genetically how tall he is. It's just something.
Right. Well, and that's the unreasonability that I'm talking about. It just it's.
I mean, if you're 4'7" or you're 5'2", what's wrong with a guy who's 5'9"? You put on heels, he's still going to be taller than you in the same time. He can still pick you up and do all types of acrobatic shit that you like for him to do.
And that's my point.
Why do you need a tree branch? Why do you need a guy that's next to his kneecaps, man? Some of these chicks that I've seen who are 4'7", going after 6 feet tall looking guys, it looks like a child next to this guy.
So I mean, again, though, that's why I'm saying like that the unrealistic expectations are unfathomable when you compare them to the expectations that most men have. Most men are pretty reasonable, and what's interesting is I think that in the next like year, just like we've been harping on like what a high value man is, I think we're going to see a lot more of like what an actual high value woman is in the interpretations, because we're in a weird place where it's like we had the fatherless homes, women and men growing from those homes and having this whole era that we're in now. And we've had the men come up with different solutions to these issues. And then this place is getting bigger and bigger and becoming more and more mainstream. We're about due for another shift.
Do you think it's a good shift or a bad shift? I mean, do you think we've seen the forefront, probably the apocalypse of the feminist movement? Because everybody's talking about 2030 is going to be the bombshell that's going to really put a fire under a lot of women's asses. I mean, I want to get...
There's only one of two things that can happen, right?
Okay.
And it's really come down to, and Contriver is a MGTOW guy that said this, and he was saying a masculine republic turns into feminine democracy turns into tyranny. And we're already in tyranny, right? It just depends on which way it's going to go. And it's either we're in an anti-feminist beginning stages of anti-feminist movement now, right?
The beginning? Anti. I didn't hear the part. Okay, it's anti.
Yeah,
okay.
Anti. We've already had the men talking about it, and you're having more women talking about it now, right? Because I'm not the only one. I've seen like quite a few women that are.
Oh yeah,
I think that are like, they seem sound, they seem reasonable. There's a couple that look kind of like cloud chasers and are a little too extreme again. But
I get you.
For the most part, most of them seem pretty genuine. They seem to actually understand the issues at hand and about wanting, and the beauty of being more of a pick-me rather than, oh, I can get this back, I can do all these things, right? Because we look at the reality, and this is, again, like, I'm not looking at my truth, your truth, men, women, whatever. It's the fucking truth, right? Just like you said, men still have to go out and work and create this financial stability and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
As a woman, I'm doing the same thing. I have a marketing agency, I have an Airbnb, and I'm doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can choose to turn around and go get married. I can choose to start something like OnlyFans if I wanted to. Sure, I could become a dating coach. But
please don't do that.
No, I won't. But even in, I won't. But even in this, it's...
Well, give good advice, though. Cause
I do, and it's for free, because that's the way it should be.
Well, even if you're going to charge people for it, man, you're being honest with the shit. I mean, it's not like you're fucking out there just trying to give off dumb advice that's 90s and shit that's going to get people caught up in bullshit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's pretty reasonable. Like I said, I'm not going to not tell the truth either. But my point is that we have, as women, we do have options, whereas men, this is it. You either make it or you don't. There's no one that's going to take care of you. There's no one that's going to pay your rent. There's no family that's going to be like, yeah, come back home and happily live back home at 31 years old.
Once you're out, you're out. I can personally tell you this.
Even on a societal standard, how would a man be treated living back at home, right? There's so many things and ramifications for men that there aren't for women. There's a severe level of entitlement. It's about, I keep saying to women, like, when shit happens for us and I say something like it, it's just about acknowledging it.
So let me ask you this. I always ask female guests too that go on the show. Where do you find yourself or see yourself? Are you single, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Are you single?
Yep.
Okay. Where do you think you can find yourself the man that you're looking for?
Not in California.
Not in California. So anywhere else except for California.
Probably not Oregon or Washington either. No metropolitan, probably not a metropolitan area.
More states?
Is it?
Oh,
no, it's
man.
they're similar states. They're pretty like uncanny with their similarities and their core values. People are batshit crazy. So
probably on the East Coast, probably.
I get along with people more on the East Coast than the West Coast. I love my West Coast, right? But it's I say it like this. It's like people like for LA, it's like, oh my God, I love you, and then they'll stab you in the front. They don't even care. People on the East Coast say, I hate you, I hate you. I love you, I love you. There's no.
I've never been to LA. I've never been to that part. I've never been to the West Coast. But I can say this, like, just hearing the word LA, the first thing that comes into my mind when I hear an LA chick, I'm thinking, oh shit, bougie, Chanel, Balenciaga.
You know what's funny too? I had a friend,
Christian Dior,
another content creator. He told me that he's like, nah, I met some cool baddies from LA. They were down to earth too. And I was like, were they in LA? Nah, they had moved into town. Exactly. They figured it out. Just as I have figured it out. You got to get out of California.
But the craziest thing is when I mentioned to you before, like, hey man, I've talked to a couple of females that are from LA, and they were pretty nice.
It was you.
Yeah, it was
but they weren't in LA. They were not in LA when you met them. No,
they weren't.
That's my point. It's when you realize, like, oh my God, I've been living my entire life in this city, and no wonder I have so many problems with all these people. But when I go anywhere else, life is glorious. I've tested it quite a few times to realize, like, it is the area that I'm in. The majority of people are so like this. They have no problem.
It could be like that until you really get to know the people that you're at. Because where I'm in Orlando. I'm in Florida. I'm in Orlando. And over here, people are weird as shit. Like, the women are completely fucking weird. Like,
it does depend on the place that you go to, though. Absolutely.
We call it the gator water. Like, they're drinking gator water out here, man. They're just fucked up out here.
So I'll give you this example, right? My example is I want to move to Miami. And when you first hear that, you're like, what the like, that's where all the people with the Bugattis and stuff are, right?
Oh, yeah. Party City.
So I've been back and forth about 15 times now. I've never once partied in Miami, ever. And the friends and the established people that I become friends with and everything, the little community I've created out there, very upscale, high people that they all have great things going for them.
Yeah, so money for sure.
I've never engaged in any of the partying, but the people that I'm actually creating a community out there with, it's like even the girls, they're dope. They're reasonable. When I tell them the things that I've learned here, they're not like, no, that's not how it is. And blah, blah, blah. No, they're like, that makes sense. Man. Let's talk more about this. Like, it's fascinating. So, but it does depend on where you go to. Because I've been to Orlando too.
True. Well, a lot of women tend to like being over here, you know. Well.
Yeah, it depends. You just got to keep trying to find your people. Whether that, because it's the thing too. If you're choosing poor relationships, 9 times out of 10, you also have not so great friendships.
I've been with too much toxic energy. It's way too toxic out here. I choose to just look somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'd rather look outside and I'll be all right. But like I said, I'm more than willing. I'm open on giving relationships a chance. There was times where I just kind of shut people out of my life, but I'm willing to open up to a certain degree. But I'm also very cautious to that. Because I have trust issues. It's not just with women, but also with men too. I just have trust issues. So it does take me some time to open up. I don't open up completely like that, but I also take my time with things. If I'm really genuinely interested in someone, I take my time, but I like to keep communication alive. Like, I'm very communicative. How can I say this? If somebody doesn't communicate back to me, I take it in so many ways, but I also sit back. I don't really overdo it. I may like send you a text here and there. Don't reply back. All right, maybe you're busy. If I don't hear back from you, then I just won't fucking ever text you again. Fuck it. Twice, that's it. I don't go overboard. I don't do none of that extra shit. If it reciprocates, I judge on based off the conversation. If it's dry, if it's high energy there, then I'll write back. But normally 9 times out of 10, I'm like, all right. I'm not a texting type of person. So I'd rather talk on the phone or I'd rather meet up and do something. That's kind of like how I move. I'm a little bit more old school, more old fashioned. I'm not the type that's going to like sit here and text a whole goddamn conversation. I fucking hate that shit. I've been on dates with women that constantly love to text all the time. I just can't do it. And then they'll get upset with me thinking I don't care about them because I don't text them back right away. But I'm not a big texter. I'd rather call and talk to you.
Well, this is the thing. They're going to get upset, but they're calling you. You didn't text me because they're enticed, because they're not getting what they want. They're not getting. It's the same thing with men. They don't really want just a picture perfect obey me woman. They do want a woman they end up taming. You know what I mean? There's a difference between like, oh, she's obeying me versus I tame that bitch, right? It's the same thing that why women go after these alpha guys. It's we all just gotta, like I said, we all gotta come to the common ground, but it's really on the women for this whole delusional aspect. And I fought tooth and nail and thought like, no, it's not all women. No, it's just the 304s. No, it's just the dumb women. No, it's just this. It's across the board. Different ages, different sexes, different heights, different backgrounds. But they all, not all, but the majority of them think that the average income in America for a man is $100,000.
That's crazy.
And the craziest part is that
probably in California, but not over here on the East Coast.
The craziest part is that a good portion of them wouldn't even allow less than $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like these are women like I'm talking like young, like anything from 20 to 23, and not 304s, like wearing fucking turtlenecks and like in Christian schools and in private schools and non-private schools, public schools, rural areas. The delusion is deep. That's the most astounding part. I can't, as a female that has tried to like not make this factual, that is the biggest mountain of like, wow, it really is this bad.
Well, better bitches, batches.
Better biatches.
Better biatches. It's been a pleasure, sweetheart.
Likewise, good sir. I think we should all go to sleep or have a good day.
That's work. But you're always welcome to be on a panel. It's great getting your input on things. You taught me something new today. I'm always learning something. So
aren't we all?
Yeah. So I guess we just got to find ways of somehow coexisting in this motherfucker and somehow try to communicate and connect with each other. But goddamn it, it's hard as a motherfucker.
Yeah, we're doing it though. But yeah, so my channel is Better Biatches. All my socials are on there too if you want to take a peek and whatever like that. If you're still up, or if you can go ahead and paste it in the chat. Moderators, if you're still up, go ahead and paste better bitches. Biatches. On the everyone just says BB. BB. I feel like that way it's more comfortable for everyone if they don't want to say biatches. I thought it was funny. I'm like, oh, they get to say biatches and it's not a bad thing. But and then we also have the Discord too. Everyone's welcome to that. There's a screening process, but pretty much it's a whole little community. So, and everyone like different sectors. It's been cool. There you go. All right, guys. So we're out of here, man. It's getting late, and my ass gotta go to work. And when I get home, I'm falling the fuck to sleep. I gotta do some work. 5 hours. I'll be all right. I got a Red Bull on deck. I can't be fucking with that. You know what I do? I drink Coke. That usually keeps me up. I can't fuck with the Red Bull. That shit leads to heart problems. I heard. I don't fuck with that shit. I don't know. That's what I heard.
Fuck it.
It does. I love it. Anyways. All right. Good night. Good morning.
Anyways, have a good morning, good night, whatever you call it, wherever you're at. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you in the next one.